I would go off every second week to Tofino and I would surf. I'd get up and I'd work on my PowerPoints and creative to try and get everything out of my brain that was in there. And then I'd surf for a few hours and come back and just sequester myself for like a week at a time. Our prime directive is it's got to work for the client, the coach, and the owner. We use the basis of this thing as our funnel, right? So, you see that funnel in a shape from one side to the other. Those are all the steps in a functional fitness gym today. So you see that awareness. So that's what drives in the clients to begin with. And at the end, you've got, clients sticking around for over 5 years. And then all along the way, it's a feedback loop to your awareness. Each step to this funnel we just played with every equation you can think of. Like you think of it, we've tried it. We did that over the course of 2006 to 2011. And then I started reaching out to all the guys I used to talk to on the phone and all the guys I'd met early days and all that stuff and asking them what they're up to. I wheedled it down to about 11 people. And we started an alpha study in 2012. We used that funnel as the basis of our experiment. I think our first meeting was in Vancouver and we had a 3-day course and then we had like Dropbox.
Consulting is a loose term, I would say. It was more like, you're fucking this part up, like you should be doing it this way. I'm like, oh yeah, that kind of makes sense.
I made this change over with a cut sheet, some notes from an exec weekend, and Patty on the phone once a month telling me all the stuff I was messing up.
At that time, that was about it. That was all the guidance that a new gym owner got.
It looked more like a grade 11 class project at that point. It was mostly a shit show. It was mostly a disaster, but they got results. After a year, out of those 7 gyms, they actually doubled the revenue and their profit quadrupled. So we got out of alpha, we got beta in there, and we got 25 new gyms. So the next generation, we went from a Dropbox and a few PowerPoints and Word documents, Excel spreadsheets to an actual online school. We needed to just teach people what the model was first.
We're testing things in the gym. How do we implement this thing? Now we take, Vancouver's model and we get it successfully implemented in Dublin and in Boston, and it's working.
As we added more people, more data, more information, better feedback, faster loops.
That group of 25 played around with all those equations again, and so it was just a honing and refining. And so then we started in 2014, I think we started with Gamma with another 55 gyms. And we just kept on adding infrastructure and people.
Because of all my business development background, I could tell that MadLab, even where it was 3 years ago, was 7 to 10 years ahead of any other business consulting group out there.
New faces would come in and they would think that they had unique problems.
We know about all your problems. Right? This is what we do. We've been analyzing this industry for 10 years. So we can tell you how, why, what the fix is. There's different options for fixes, right? But we know.
It's the first guys off the landing craft at the beachhead. That's when all the bullets come in, right? And a lot of them took a lot of hits. The new people coming in, they're standing on the shoulders of everyone else that has learned, and they're coming in faster and being more successful.
Patty's an engineer, and he has this whole process where you have to take theory and prove it as law.
Started off with, is it measurable? Is it observable? Is it repeatable? We've now just honed it to what works and what doesn't work. The numbers just add up every single time. So it's not hypothesis, it's not conjecture, it's not theory, it's law.
The 8 laws is basically the aggregate data of everything that we have discovered in terms of best practices over the last 10 years.
We tried everything under the sun to be smarter and try and do it better, and eventually we just kept coming back to that kind of formula. It's like building a boat. Like there's kind of a base checklist of things that you need to have for it to float. What do you do for your fundamentals? What do you do for your coach compensation? As we did that for more and more gyms, eventually we got to the point where it was like, well, did you do this? No, okay, that's why you're failing. Okay, you got this, and this. Well, you didn't do that. Okay, that's why you're failing.
Once we have the right stuff, we put it into a place on the online school, and the coaches and the owners have access to it, and it's there instead of having to try to figure it out on their own.
What MadLab is the aggregate of all of these communities around the world that we can track, because we've got the data behind all of these things. We're here to teach them what we already know and to learn from them what we haven't figured out yet. And that's kind of how we really drive the best practices forward.
We're working on it. We know certain things are true. We know certain practices are the best of what we know. But we're always tweaking and we're always tinkering and adapting and making it better because it's that learning mindset and that pursuit of mastery mindset.
It takes a lot of work. It's very difficult. It took me 12 years. I'm starting from scratch. But once you get through it, you stand alone. The people we're teaching this to now stand alone in the market. They're heads and tails above everybody.